Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I want to talk about Red Dawn room entry. As many of you know, I've been doing a video series analyzing the 1980s movie Red Dawn, where the United States is invaded by the Soviets and the Cubans. They're occupying half the United States, and we have militia fighters behind enemy lines that are fighting the communists. So in this video, I'm going to be focusing on room entry. Why is it important to our militia fighters? I mean, in the movie, it seems like they are pretty much living in the forest, and it seems like they're mostly attacking the Soviets in open areas. Well, there's two reasons. Number one, in the movie, it shows, that they're living in the forest. That's really not that realistic for a prolonged period of time. In many places of the United States, like where I'm at, the temperatures fall, well below freezing in the wintertime. It's about 15 degrees outside. Sometimes it goes down to, negative 10 degrees. In other places in the United States, it'll go down to negative 20 degrees. You cannot live outdoors for a very long period of time in a simple camping tent. You might tell me that, the American Indians did it. How'd they do it? Well, they didn't use simple camping tents. They had really large structures that looked tent-like to us, but those were, they were semi-permanent structures. They were kind of like mobile homes. Those were large structures where they had internal heat, right? They could put a fireplace inside, and they could put a lot of people in there and heat the room and cook inside, and they could live inside the tent the way we live inside our homes today. Okay, so that's a really important component of this. Okay, and also even in the summertime, you can't spend the whole summer living outside in the dirt. You're going to get ticks all over your body that eventually you're going to get Lyme disease, and your militia is going to basically get sick and die off, okay? So realistically speaking, in a Red Dawn type of scenario, we would probably be living in homes, okay? And I talked about this in another video where I talked about Red Dawn security. We would realistically be living inside of homes in not very populated areas, or it could be populated areas, right? I did a separate video on Red Dawn in urban and city areas, but we would be hiding among the population. Okay, that is actually an easier place to hide than in the forest, because in the forest, I mean, eventually, if they're flying helicopters, eventually they'll see the campsite eventually. Okay, if not in the summertime, they'll see it in the fall. If you have people living in the forest, they do stand out as not belonging there. Okay, they'll see these smoke fires. They'll see the smoke, from the campfires, especially in the early morning. So realistically speaking, we would be living inside of normal homes, as opposed to the forest. Okay, so that's why these tactics are going to be important to us. And there's two ways to look at this, right? We might be the ones on the inside being invaded by the Soviets, right? Where they're the ones doing the room entry on us. And we need to think about this in advance and have some type of a plan to deal with it. Or we might be the ones doing the room entry. Now, obviously, we would not be doing room entry, on professional Soviet soldiers that are, basically have a defensive position set up. I mean, it's just too hard of a task. But we might do room entry on supply stations. So that's why room entry is important to us, because we might be on either side of this. We might actually be the ones attacking a supply location, or the Soviets might be attacking us. As far as us attacking a supply depot, right? As I've mentioned in previous videos, there's a good chance that the Soviets are going to employ a civilian, civilians to work for them. In many cases voluntarily, in other cases involuntarily. But the point is that we may be entering a room, that's full of other Americans, and we have to get information in advance as far as what are we going to find inside there. Are these Americans that are collaborating to the point where they're actually functioning as auxiliary security, where they're actually armed and actually fighting on the side of the Soviets because they're being paid well enough. Okay, is it that, or is it a situation where they are they're just there because they have to be there because they're getting food, but other than that they have no incentive to actually defend the supplies on behalf of the Soviets. So that's another possibility. Or you might have a situation where they're kind of running their own business. So even though they may not care for the Soviets, they have an interest in defending their inventory, right? Their supplies, their business. So that's another type of situation. Okay, so now you have a situation where those people would actually be willing to fight to protect their property, despite the fact that it's being used to supply the Soviets. And we have to decide in advance how we're going to deal with that. Okay, room entry is usually hard and fast. And if you think that the people inside are not really that much of a threat to you, and then one person in that group inside the structure turns out to be a threat. There's a good chance that a lot of people on your team are going to get killed. Okay, so again, this is all part of the planning that needs to be done in advance. How are you going to deal with civilians that you might find inside the room that you really don't know what the position is? You don't know whether they're whether they hate the Soviets or whether they're fighting with the Soviets. Okay, so before I move on to the actual tactics, I want to tell you guys about caveman EOTech, because that's going to be really important to us. Okay, I've got here an AK-47. Ignore the red dot. Okay, there's no red dot here. Just look at the front sight and the rear sight. Okay, if you're coming into a room, right, and under stress, it's really hard to line up that front sight post with that opening in the rear sight. Okay, so what we do is we use a technique where we take you see that big circle over there? Okay, well, you just take the whole circle, right, and you place it over your rear sight. Okay, so it's going to basically look, pen over here. So that's going to be your rear sight. Okay, and then over here is going to be that big circle. Okay, so that circle, that's your red dot. Okay, that's what you're looking for. All right, and you're just going to place that center mass or head or wherever and pull the trigger. If you're shooting at distance, you will be shooting very high, but at close distance, it's going to work out really good because the AK, like I talked about in another video, it's sighted in for 100 yards, right? So your iron sights are up here. They're about 2.5 inches high, right, above the bore. So at 100 yards, the two converge, right? They meet. What's going to happen is at closer distances, you're going to be shooting low, right? So at inside of a room, you're probably going to have the full 2.5 inches difference. So what that means, okay, if let's say we have a hostage situation, right, and you have a Soviet holding an American over here. Let's say they're short, the head comes up to here, right? If you are lining up your sights, right, and you put that, let's say, right in the center of the head, right over here, well, you're going to be actually hitting 2.5 inches low. So if your hostage's head is over here, you're actually going to shoot your hostage. So if you're using your iron sights, right, where you're lining up your iron sights, what that means is inside of a room, you got to put it at the top of the head in order to hit over here, okay? But if you use the technique that I just told you, caveman EOTech, where you have, again, rear sight like that, and then you just line up the U of the front sight like that, inside of a room, right, inside of, 20, 30 feet, wherever you put it is most likely where it's going to hit, okay? So I just want to familiarize you guys with that concept of how to use the sights on an AK-47 at close distances, and it's really fast because now instead of looking for that little post, you're looking for the big circle. Basically it's going to function just like a red dot does today. Okay, so let's move on and talk about room entry. Okay, and I'm going to start. There's two techniques. One is what we call slicing the pie. That works really good if you're by yourself. Okay, especially in a civilian type of situation. And then you have the room entry that most professional armies use. Okay, but first let's familiarize ourselves with slicing the pie, and that's an idea. Over here, let me get a different color pen. So we start off in this position over here, right? This is the room, and this over here is the door. So from this position here, right, this is our line of sight. We're able to see all the way over here, right? We can't see out here because the edge of the doorway is blocking it. So once we've cleared this, once we know what's over here, what we're going to do is we're going to move over, right? We're going to move over to this position, right? Get ourselves out of there. Okay, so now from that position, we're able to see a little bit more. Okay, ahead. Okay, so now from there, okay, we're going to move over to this position, just a little bit more, and now from there, we're able to see a little bit more, and then finally, we're going to move over to this position, okay, and now we can see everything over here. Okay, so by starting off from here, okay, and then slowly moving around that way, we're able to see the entire room from the outside, and if there's any bad guys in there, we're able to shoot them from the outside of the room without us actually entering. Now, it's worth mentioning that most house structures in the United States are made out of sheetrock and light wood. So if they get a sense that you're on the outside over here, if they already sense that you're on the outside, there's a good chance that they just might shoot right through the walls. Or if we flip it around, if we say that we're on the inside and you got somebody on the outside that means to do you harm, you can also shoot through the walls. And what you usually do is you'll shoot high, right at chest level. You'll do a strafing pass high, and then you'll go low, because after that, after the gunfire, they're most likely going to drop to a knee or drop down to the ground. So then they'll be down at the ground level. So you'll do one strafe high and then one strafe low, and that's how you can eliminate a bad guy that's behind the wall. Okay, so like I said, in this video, we're looking at it from both situations, because we could be on either side of this. We could be the ones being entered on, or we could be the ones entering. Okay, so that's a situation where we're doing this by ourselves. Now we're going to look at a situation where we're working with a team, and I picked a 4-man team here. The reason is because if you try to get more than 4 people into a room, they tend to trip over each other. Okay, so we got 4 guys over here. Actually, let me close this up. Right now, this is a room that does not have an exit. So we have a room over here. We got 4 guys. Okay, and what's going to usually happen is the first guy over here, he's got a view. He can see what's going on over here, right? So he can see everything on this side over here. So he's going to come in, he's going to butt hook, and he's going to come to this position over here. He's going to take the 1 position. The second guy is going to come in, he's going to take the 2nd position. Third guy is going to come in, he's going to take that position. 4th guy is going to take that position. And now we've got the L, right? We talked about the L ambush. We've formed this L. Now, important for us to consider is that when the first and second guy come in, right, they're not coming in like, let's say there's a first guy, there's a second guy, they're not going in like 1, 2, right? They're coming in like that, almost together. I mean, yeah, the first guy has to go first. Second guy is immediately moving. They want to, this over here, the doorway, that's known as the funnel of death, okay? If you stay there more, the longer you stay here in the doorway, the more likely you are to get shot if there's any guys in there, any bad guys on the inside of the room. So we don't want to stay in the doorway. We want to move through this as quickly as possible. So that's what's going to happen. The first guy is going to come in, and he wants to advance as deep into the room as possible, take that position. Second guy is going to come over there. They're going in basically like this, and then the third and the 4th guy are doing the same thing. If this was a locked door, right, or something, let's say this was a closed door that they had to break open, the third guy usually is going to take a position over here. So we're going to get the third guy out. He's going to be over here. The third guy is usually the one that breaks the door or shoots the the lock open. And then and basically, and then same deal. You got the first guy goes there, second guy goes there, third guy is going to go diagonally there, 4th guy is going to go over there. Okay, so it's usually the third guy that breaks the door if it needs to be broken. Okay, so this is what we call a center fed room. Okay, because the opening is here in the center. This is what we call a corner fed room, because the opening is in the corner. And the same deal here. First guy can see from this position here, he can see what's going on over here. So he's going to come in, he's going to do a butt hook, come to this position here. 1, second guy is going to come up here. 2, third guy is going to come in, he's going to go here. 4th guy is going to go there. Okay, so that's how they're going to come in. And again, they're coming through that doorway almost simultaneously. We don't want any congestion at the door, okay? Because if the first guy stalls, then everybody's going to stall behind him. And now you got basically guys one on top of each other. And we all know that AK rounds can go through multiple bodies. Okay, so on Conversely, if we're on the inside, right, and we know that Soviets are coming in on us, if we're able to, to immediately hit the first guy as he comes in through that door, that'll stop him and it'll cause a roadblock behind him. And now with very little fire, you can basically kill all your Russians, all your Soviets, I mean, over here, because they're all going to be stuck in that doorway, one behind the other, and you can use one bullet to kill like 4 guys in a row almost. Okay. So that's the situation here with the corner fed room. Now this can get a little bit more complicated if we have openings, right? So let's say I'm going to have an opening here. That's another doorway. What usually happens with this is for either one of the situations, right? If you have a professional army or SWAT team coming through, they're going to usually throw in a flashbang grenade nowadays, or back then in the mid-1980s with the Soviets, they just would have thrown in a regular grenade, kill everybody in the room, and then enter it in this format, okay? If we are anticipating this, right, if we're anticipating that they're going to be entering the room on us, and we have an opening here, right, it makes sense for us to wait on the outside. Okay, so now we've set a trap over here. Okay, once they come in, take their positions, now we throw in our grenade or our Molotov cocktail or whatever we've created. Okay, we throw that in. Okay, and now basically these guys are all stunned. All right, and then we do our room entries, same exact way. We, blue guy comes in, he's going to come in. He'll basically, now there's a man right there, so he's just going to, he's just going to come to this position 1. Okay, then second guy is going to come in 2, third guy, 4th guy. Okay, so that's how they're going to counter this room entry. The room entry really depends on surprise. Okay, if you're, regardless whether you're militia or Soviet, if you're entering a room and if you have surprise on your side, there's a better chance that you're going to take that room. If you're going into a room where you're kind of being expected, there's a good chance that everybody in your team is going to die because, just to go back to the situation here, we're going in. If we have the opposing team behind some type of a barricade that's bulletproof, right? And then they got their guys over here, okay? Once they come in, if they come in and they find these guys over here and they're behind a barricade where they can't kill them easily, this red team is going to get annihilated, okay? So that's the thing. It really depends on the element of surprise. Now over here I have a different situation. I have multiple rooms, okay? So let's go back to, I have multiple rooms, and I also have another exit over here. So I have an entry here, and I also have another entry or exit over here. And what I did here is I've positioned my team. So I got my entry team over here, and then these guys are basically guarding this rear exit where we might expect people, the opposing side to come out of. And I've positioned them in an L ambush, okay? And I've got one guy over here where he can actually see the entry team go in, okay? And he can relay that information to the other people by signal or whatnot. And I have these guys over here because they're kind of like in that L position, so they have crossfire. When these guys go in, like let's say, when they go in, there's a good chance that they're going to be shooting through the structure and bullets are going to be coming out. So we have to make sure that these guys on the outside over here are behind cover, right? They're behind something that, trees or something that will actually stop bullets so that they don't accidentally get shot by our own team on the inside, okay? So our guys come in, we're using the same techniques. The first guy, he goes in, from this position, he can kind of see what's out here, right? So he's going to come in, he's going to butt hook, and he'll come to this position here. Second guy, third guy, 4th guy. All right, so that's how they take this room over here, right? Now let me put a bad guy over here, right? So this is a bad guy over here. That's the X. Okay. So now what's going to happen is number 2 guy from here is going to come up, right? He's going to take that position. 4 guys are going to come up right behind him. And usually two guy will most likely see this guy over here that will start shooting at him. Okay. 4 guy is going to come up to that position, provide some backup. Okay. two guys basically shooting through the wall in the direction of this man over here, okay? So this man is behind cover, so he's not being shot with the bullets that are coming through the wall. Okay, so that's an important consideration. All right, so now 1 and 3 guy are going to move up. So basically, one guy from there is going to come to that position. 3 guys going to move up to that position. Okay, and now if they haven't killed anybody inside the structure, they've now flushed them out, where we have this team on the outside ready to engage. Now, what we want from this team on the outside, preferably we want to get them into a high position, okay? We don't want them in a position where, like, let's say we have a bad guy comes out, right? They'll start running out, right? They're coming out, right? And now, if these guys start shooting directly at these people, right? What's going to happen is the bullets are going to go past these guys, and they're going to kill our men on the inside of the house. So what we want to do is we want to position these guys from a high position, on top of a truck, on top of another building, on top of a tree or whatever, so that they're shooting downwards, so that as they shoot at these guys here, the bullets are impacting the ground behind them over here and not actually going into the structure. Okay, and what I would probably do over here is I would instruct the team that once they flush them out, to come back out, come back out from over here rather than trying to come out that way, because this man is expecting them to come out, and he'll also be able to relay the information to the rest of the team. Okay, so that's a different way that there's a possible way that this can be planned, and we've taken into consideration where the bullets are going. These guys are shooting through the structure. We want these guys positioned in such a way that they're not going to get shot at. Likewise, we position these guys in a high position so that they're shooting through into this area over here, but because they're in a high position, the bullets are impacting the ground, the ground behind them rather than traveling through into the structure. Okay. Over here, I have another example that I came up with. We've got our team split into 2, 4-man here, and then the other. There's two entries here. We got one entry here and another one over here. Okay. This is our entry team. They're going to go in, 4-men here. These guys, I've got them positioned in a V ambush now, right? So that's a V. The reason why I didn't do the L, because I didn't want them, I'd rather not be shooting in that direction. I wanted them in L, this way this guy can see this guy. I mean, there's ways to set up. It makes more sense to in this case, to position them in a V ambush. So the same deal, as they go in, this guy's positioned over here. He can see what's going on over here, so he's going to do a butt hook. He's going to come here, okay? Then second guy is going to come here. And like I said, they're going to go in almost immediately, one behind the other. When this guy comes over here, he might see that there's a bad guy over here. Okay, so from there, he's going to immediately engage them, okay? And then he'll wait for the rest of his team to come in, 3, 4, okay? Then he's covering this while 2 and 4 move up, okay? So 2 is going to move up to here, 4 is going to, this guy's dead now, out of the way. 4 is going to come up over here. Then these 2 guys are going to move up. Okay, so we have an entry over here, right? So, let's say 3 guys are going to come up to this position. So he's kind of like slicing the pie. So we are using a little bit of the first technique I talked about, where he can kind of see this way over here. So he's got some coverage. Then the one guy is going to come over here, so he can now see that direction. All right. So we got 1 and 3, then 2 and 4 are going to move up. So 2 is probably going to go here, okay? 4 is going to go here. If there's any guys in here now, we're flushing them out. So our bad guys are coming out, okay? Right? So again, these guys here are situated in a high position. So as they're shooting at these guys, they're not shooting through the structure. The bullets are impacting the ground immediately behind them over here. Rather than killing our own men, because they're shooting from a position, let's say 10 feet high, or on top of the truck, or whatever. They're in high positions, so the bullets don't travel through the structure. Okay, so some ideas for you guys to think about. There's tons of videos on the internet that cover room entry and room clearing. I wanted to do this video because I kind of wanted to put it in the context of of the Red Dawn militia fighter, because I wanted to look at it from perspective that we can be on the inside being invaded, or we can be on the outside invading in. Okay, so I wanted to look at it from both perspectives. If we're the militia fighters and we're on the inside, I mean, the Soviets are always going to have the advantage because, even if we manage to kill the immediate team, they're going to have a backup team. We need to get away from this structure as quickly as possible. And if they've surrounded it, it's going to, we're not going to be able to leave without getting shot at. What we want to do, and I covered this in the video about fighting in urban areas and city areas. If this is gonna be our safe house, if we expect to be here for a prolonged period of time, we need to pick something that has that we can dig out some tunnels, or that has a pre-existing tunnel system or sewage system, or we need to have a way to get out of this without being seen. Okay, because that's going to be key to our survival. We don't want to find ourselves long term in any structure that does not have some type of tunnel system or some way to get out of it without being seen from the outside. Because if we're on the inside and they pretty much have us surrounded, they'll just blow up the whole building. They'll set it on fire, and we're going to lose that. Okay, so a couple of things for you guys to think about. If you have anything to add, put in the comment section. The comments really help. It shows more activity in the video, and it shows up as a suggested video, and it brings more people to the channel, and we can have more discussion. So yeah, same thing with the thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. It'll help bring more people to the channel. Memberships also help, so hit the subscription button. I'll talk to you guys soon.